cover this one first again today. I added some like fancy transitions, and that was pretty cool, right? That's good. So we're gonna copy segments today, right? So again, I do, we do, and then finally you do. So let me show you how this one works when you copy a segment. When you copy a segment, it's 3 steps. Just watch, please. Step 1, draw a dot or put a point on the board. Step 2, use your straight edge to draw a line. I have a straight edge tool. Those are your first 2 steps. Neither of those involve a compass. The final step, step 3, put your pivot point on one end point of the line. Put your pencil point on the other end of the line. Make a small mark to verify it goes through the endpoint. At this point, once your compass has that described distance, be careful not to change it. You're going to move your pivot point down to the other endpoint and make a mark. What you've done is created that this line segment and this line segment are now congruent to each other. All right, that was our first construction. So let's do that together. You can do that on your notes. You can do that on a random sheet of paper, wherever you want. We're going to duplicate. We're going to copy one of these segments. You pick which one you want to do. All right. So I'm going to name this line segment AB. And we are going to create line segment CD so that it is congruent to line segment AB. So we have line segment AB, and we're creating line segment CD that is congruent to line segment AB. 3-step process. Step 1, make a dot, a point. Step 2, draw a straight line. That straight line needs to be a little bit longer than your original line. Okay, now what is this point called? C. So there's the beginning of me copying line segment AB so that it becomes line segment CD. The only construction part of this, put your pivot point on A, put your pencil point on B. Once you create that distance, that length, that measurement, don't change it for the rest of the problem. Draw a small mark as evidence of construction to make sure that it goes through B. Do not change anything. Move your pivot point down to C and make the same mark. What is this intersection now called? D. So now I have created line segment CD that is exactly congruent to line segment AB. How do you guys feel about that one? Not bad? So there is another line segment on your notes that you have time to practice with, right? We're not going to do that right now. We'll move on to the next one. So we just copied segments. Now we're going to attempt to copy an angle. Copying an angle. Watch me. Watch me. Okay? This one starts with the same sort of construction that the copying segments did. Step 1, draw a point. Step 2, draw a line segment. A little bit longer than this ray right here. Okay, nothing's really changed at this point. Now, step 3. You're going to put your pivot point on the vertex of the angle, and you're going to make sure that your compass will cross both sides of the angle. Once it does that, I'm going to draw an arc through the angle. Without changing anything on my compass, I'm going to move my compass down to the vertex over here, and I'm going to draw that same arc. Alright? So step 1, put a point. Step 2, draw a line. Step 3, swing an arc through the angle. Swing an arc through the angle. And then the hardest one for you guys is to measure how open the angle is. I like to put my pivot point on the bottom of the angle, and you're going to measure how open that angle is by putting your pencil point at the top of the angle. Your angle is this open. Does that make sense? So you can swing an arc through there to verify. Without changing the radius of your compass, you come down to the bottom, you go to the same exact point down here, and you swing an arc through the angle. The completion of this is connecting this intersection and this vertex. Those two angles should be exactly the same size. And I can verify that by doing this little overlay right here. They are exactly the same size. Okay, that one's quite a bit more involved, isn't it? So 3 steps: draw a ray, swing an arc, measure the open. Let's do that together. All right. So you have an angle somewhere, right? Step 1, draw a ray. Put a point and draw a line. Step 2, draw a line. Make sure that line's just a little bit longer than your original angle. What's that? You can draw an angle if you want to. You can do it on one of the angles that I provided for you in your notes. But remember, if you're drawing something, you have to use your straight edge. Okay? Otherwise, it's going to get weird because it might be crooked. Anybody uncomfortable with this part? No? Okay? Now, step 2. Our pivot point goes here and here for step 2 on the vertex. So I go to the vertex, and what is the most important part of this step? That your pencil touches both sides of the angle. So my pencil touches the top part and the bottom part. That's good. Once I set this distance, I cannot change it. Swing an arc through the top angle. Be very, very careful not to change anything. Go to the other vertex and swing an arc.
Wait, I'm confused.
Okay?
Wait, where do you put the pencil? Like when you put the pivot point on the vertex?
Up here, your pencil must be somewhere on the side of the angle.
But it doesn't matter where?
Okay, it can be out here, but be careful. Look, watch how it's when I swing it now. See how it misses up top?
Yeah.
So it just has to touch both sides. It can be all the way out. Once I finish this, I'm going to show you what it looks like with some different measurements, and you can see what happens. Okay? So step 2 is swinging this purple arc through the red angle and through the black ray. All that does is give you a consistent radius. It sets a distance out from the vertex. So step 2 is swinging an arc. Is anybody struggling with that one? Okay. The only part that can offer you guys a little bit of difficulty is your radius changing on accident. Alright? Step 3 is down here at this intersection. So on step 3, your pivot point goes down here, and your pencil point goes up here. So I'm going to put my pivot point at the bottom intersection. And I'm going to put my pencil point at the top intersection. That tells you that your angle is this open. Okay, you can swing a small arc to verify that it goes through that intersection. And then watch very carefully. Without changing that opening, you're going to put your pivot point down here at this intersection. Move it down very carefully and swing the same arc. To complete the construction, you connect the vertex and that intersection with your straight edge. Those two angles should be exactly the same size.
Wait,
It should just got real, didn't it?
like my first arc, I don't think I made it long enough.
So, I'm going to use the exact same pictures. I'm not going to erase anything. Only thing I'm going to change is the original radius of my compass. So watch this. I'm going to change colors so you guys can see it. I'm going to do it in like bright green. Pivot point goes on the vertex. As long as my pencil touches both sides of the angle, it doesn't matter where it goes. So if you want it longer, I can make it longer. All right, it still touches both sides. I'm going to make it as big as I can.
I think
Right?
I just messed up on the bottom. Because, like,
That's what I'm saying, like,
the intersection,
not
like, my
that
line
big.
ends, like, right here, and then my intersection's, like, up
yeah, that's
here.
mine too.
So this line wasn't long enough down
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So remember I told you guys that this ray needs to be longer than this one.
Or, like, the radius, because right here, it's, like, not.
Like wood. That's what I did in my other line.
Okay, I think I see what's happening. So I'm going to show you what happened. You guys made this arc correctly. You were successful with that one, right?
Yeah.
And then you moved down here. And I like to, you started down here
Yeah.
and you terminated it right there.
Yeah.
So when you went to go do step 2, measure green to green like that, right? You moved down to the green intersection and you swung an arc and they didn't connect. So it's always a good idea when you do the first construction, and you can go back and catch it. See how I measure it the same? To make sure that you over exaggerate that. But now look, crazy, the black line hit the green intersection again. And it should, because that is the only way to duplicate an angle or copy an angle. So as you guys work through this, you'll see, exaggerate your arcs. Are we drawing full circles? No, but you have to draw longer arcs. Does that one make sense? It's a little more complicated, isn't it? There's 2 arcs that measure it. So, you may not be comfortable with it. I get it. But I'm going to keep moving on. Okay? There is a video being recorded right now where you can go back and you can watch it, you can pause it, you can do it by yourself. I get it. Alright, so I'm going to go on to the next one. The next one is constructing a bisector. Hint, hint, hint.
2 sections.
Hint. You think this one might be important? Yes. This is the only test question over constructions. This is it. This is the test question. Alright? So, to be very clear about what's going on, I'm going to name this line segment AB. And then I'm going to create a bisector XY. Now, what is a bisector? What does a bisector do?
It goes, like, it's like straight or something. Or splits it in
Cuts it in half. So I'm going to draw a line that cuts this line in half. Period. I'm going to draw a line that cuts this line in half. This is a 2-step construction. Alright? 2 steps. Step 1, go to A. Just watch, just watch. Step 1, go to A. And you're going to swing an arc. Okay, above the line. Go to A, swing an arc above the line. And you guys have realized that the longer your arcs are, the better opportunity you have of them intersecting. So step one, go to A and swing a line arc above the line. Without changing this radius, go to B and swing an arc below the line. That's step one. Okay, just watch, guys, because if you're trying to do this with me, you're going to get lost. Go to A, arc above. Go to B, arc below. Got it? Now, we're going to go to B, or we're going to go back to A, and we're going to arc below the line. But this arc needs to somehow touch this one over here. Arc below the line. So I'm going to extend this out so that it will touch B, like this. See it? See how it touches over here? So I'm going to arc below the line. I'm going to go to B, and I'm going to arc above the line. So you go to A and mark above, you go to B and mark below. Then you flip it over. You go to A and mark below, you go to B and mark above. The bisector is created by connecting this intersection and this intersection. So this line right here is the bisector. That means that this point right here is the midpoint. Now talk about it. I'm going to name this line XY. So does AB bisect XY, or does XY bisect AB? XY bisects AB. If you can just understand this picture, which one is cutting which one in half? Is the black one cutting the red one in half, or is the red one cutting the black one in half? That is the test question. Everything is drawn for you. Everything is done for you. It's multiple choice. Does red cut black, or does black cut red? That's the test question. Okay? Now you can verify that if you broke the rules of geometry and you measured it. 11 on the left side, 11 on the right side. They are cut exactly in half. So let's try that one together. Okay? We'll construct a bisector.
You can do it on this next page.
You can just draw your own line, or you can do it on the page that I gave you. I don't care. So you go step one, A above, B below. All right? Go to A, and doesn't matter how big your first arc is. No, whatever you want, I recommend maybe a little bigger than you would think. So you go A above, then you go to B, and you go below. And the whole time I'm doing this, I am not changing the radius of my compass. A above and B below. A above and B below. Careful you don't fall off the bottom into your paper. Okay, step two, A below and B above. So you go to A, and the only really trick here is to make sure that your arcs are going to cross. Do they cross right there? So that's good. So I can make an intersection on this side without changing my compass. A below, B above. The bisector is created by the intersection, or by connecting the intersections. This point to this point. That purple line is the bisector of the red line. Did you follow up your paper?
No, I don't know what I did.
This is a weird one. I'm not a big fan of this one.
I don't know what I did.
I crossed my lines.
Like when I did B, I don't know what
Your lines crossed.
Yeah.
But if you connect intersection to intersection, does it work? Maybe. Okay, guys, that's the last one that I think is weird, or it's not necessarily easy to understand. The next one's my favorite one. My favorite one because it is a one-step construction. Okay, so notice this purple line. Does this purple line, is that exactly perpendicular to the red line? Does it make 90 degrees? So that one's tilted like this. Now, I'm going to construct a perpendicular bisector. I'm going to create a line that is perpendicular to the red one and goes through the midpoint. It'll create exactly 90 degrees and it'll run exactly through the midpoint. This one's actually the easiest one, and you guys love this one. And it sounds complicated. It is a two-step construction. You go from A and B. That's it. Those are your 2 points you need. Once you set a radius, you're not allowed to change it. So watch me. Go to A. Does that look like it's more than half the line? I'm going to exaggerate it. What about now?
I did.
Definitely more than half. So you're going to arc above and below. Okay, exaggerate it. Without changing anything, go to the other side. Make the exact same circle. Below and above. And then you're done. You're done. If you connect these two intersections from here to here, that purple line is exactly 90 degrees and it cuts the red line in half. Does that one sound easier to do?
Yeah.
So the only issue, you guys will always do this. You'll short this line, this original line right here, and you'll have to go back and remark it because it's not long enough. So let's try that again. I'm going to actually do something weird. I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to shrink the line just so you can see that it works no matter how long the line is. Okay? So we have A and B. A and B. Go to A. The only thing that'll make this not work is if your compass is not big enough. Does my compass look like it's more than halfway across the line? As long as it's more than halfway across. Arc above, exaggerate it. Arc below, exaggerate it. Without changing anything, go to the other side. B. And then make both arcs cross.
Hey, I did that fine, and then when I go to B, it just looks oh wait, never mind.
It works, doesn't it? That's it. That's all you need. So when you connect with your straight edge, this intersection and this intersection, the purple line is a perpendicular bisector of the red line. It doesn't matter how big or how small your arcs are. Let me show you what might happen. If you do something like this, I'm going to do this in green. if I arc above and below, and then I come to this side and I do the same thing, do my green lines cross? No, it wasn't big enough. Okay? So if I make it just a little bit bigger, arc above and below, without changing anything, go to the other side. Look, the purple line still connects the two green arcs. Okay, there's any number of infinite arcs you can make that will still make that purple line. Okay, what do you think about that one? Easiest one, right? Maybe copying segments is easier than that one. Okay, copying angles is tough, I get that one. Segment bisector is weird. And then here's the last one. This is the one that nobody likes. We're going to create an angle bisector. An angle bisector. So I'm going to draw a ray that cuts that angle in half. Watch me, please. Don't try and follow along. Just watch. Step 1. Draw an arc across your angle. Doesn't matter where it is as long as it touches both sides. At that point, you can pick up your compass and you can move it. That's all you need right there. Okay? Step 2. For step 2, you need to use this location and this location. You're going to put your pivot point up here, and does it look like my compass is more than halfway across the angle? It does not matter where this pencil is, as long as it's more than halfway across the angle, right? I'm going to arc out into the angle without changing anything. I'm going to create an intersection. That's it. When you connect this vertex to that intersection, does it look like the purple line cuts that angle in half? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's a 2-step construction. Swing an arc across the angle, go to each side, and swing arcs, the same arc, in the angle. Let's do it together. Step 1, pivot point goes on the vertex, and then just swing an arc across the angle. It does not matter where. Once you make a nice clean arc across your angle, you can pick your compass up. You can move it however big you want to. Step 2, put your pivot point on one side of the angle, and as long as your pencil is more than halfway across. Mine might be cutting it close here, right? Does it look like it's close to halfway? I think it might work. So I'm going to swing an arc out in the angle. And then carefully, without changing anything, move down to the other intersection of my green arc and my red angle. And you're going to swing an arc out into the angle. When you connect your red vertex to your red intersections, that is your angle bisector. How do you feel about that one? You hate it all, don't you? It's, guys, this is something brand new to you, and I just threw 5 of them at you. Now, here's the only saving grace. Does anybody have their notes out from yesterday? Or have their notes from yesterday? Can I borrow those for a second? Guys, on these notes right here in like super fine print is the instructions, step by step by step by step, how to do each of these constructions. So we did this one, we did this one. We just did the first page. We didn't do any of these over here. These are the only 4 that we did. You can read those step by step by step. Otherwise, you guys have a digital copy of video of how to do all these.